I have so much to tell you today, so let me start off with my Sew and Bond event over the weekend. It was actually an extra date that I added to the calendar because all of my monthly events, which I normally have towards the end of the month, they were all fully booked, and I was getting requests if I could actually add another date, and that was one of them. I was very pleased that the event was fully booked, but unfortunately on the day I had 5 no-shows. So a couple of them had told me, one a few days before and one on the morning, that they were either ill or injured themselves, so they weren't able to come. But the other 3 people who did book on, I heard absolutely nothing about. So I don't really know if everyone was okay, why was the reason they didn't come. But it actually made me a little bit sad because it would have been nice to open up those spaces to other people who were waiting for some spaces. But anyway, we had a really good day. I took along a couple of projects to potentially work on because I didn't know if I was going to have the time or not. And because there were a few people who didn't show up, I actually had the space and a bit more time to do something for myself. So I took along 2 potential projects, the hipster dress by Ellie and Mac and the Tabitha T-shirt dress by Tilly and the Buttons. I also took along 2 different fabrics. So I pulled these 2 fabrics from my stash. They are both ribbed jerseys, one in like a brownish color that I got from Leon's, and another one in this mustard color with white stripes. It's been in my stash for about 5 years possibly, and I bought it on a Facebook group. At the time I was buying fabrics that I wasn't really familiar with what I would like, colors, prints and so on, and I don't really wear yellow, so this has stayed in my stash until now. So what I actually did was I asked everyone's opinion on Saturday, what fabric should I pick? So out of the 2, they actually chose the mustard colored fabric, so I guess the brown one is going back into the stash for the time being. So I decided that for this one I was going to make the Tilly and the Buttons Tabitha T-shirt dress, but I only cut out my sleeves on the day because not only did I not have enough space on the cutting mat to cut out the full dress, because the T-shirt is, you cut the T-shirt first, then you cut the skirt, add them and put an elasticated waist or drawstring waist. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to cut it in one full length, so T-shirt into skirt in one piece, and I didn't have enough space for that. Not only that, but I remembered that the sizing that I had traced out was my old sizing, so I will probably have to go down maybe 1 or 2 sizes even now. So I just cut out the sleeves and then remembered that. I was actually thinking that instead of retracing my size, I'll actually just cut out the sizes that I did trace out and then just kind of baste it, fit it to me, and see how much I need to take in at the size, because I really don't feel like taping a pattern to my window, retracing it, cutting out and all of that. I just feel like diving into the project because it's quite a simple project. It's a jersey project that I'm gonna do completely on my overlocker, so I don't really want to waste my time with tracing out again. For the sleeves, I actually cut out the long sleeve length, but I'm going to shorten it probably. I cut it out just in case because I wasn't sure what I wanted, but I think I'm going to cut it down to 3/4 after I construct the whole dress. For the skirt as well, I think I'm gonna go just below the knee, and I don't know if I'm going to do something around the waist because I like my things to be more fitted in the area. I am thinking, let me just construct it as it is. With me pinning it, I will probably be able to figure out the exact sizing that I want, and if I can't and I want a bit more of a looser skirt, then I might consider adding an elastic channel or a drawstring channel. So that one is still to be decided, but I'm hoping to get to it this week. A little more about the Sew and Bond though. There were lots of projects being worked on. So one person was self-drafting a bag to replace one that they had been using for years and it now just needed a bit of a refresher. There was one person who was working on the Paphos pouch, which is my latest sewing pattern design, so it was quite exciting to be able to help the person while they were constructing it. There was one person who was working on a tote bag, and they had last worked on that tote bag months ago at another one of our Sew and Bond events, so it was nice to see it back, but there was a little mistake that was made and there was a lot of unpicking, so unfortunately they weren't able to finish the whole bag on the day. Another project that was being worked on was the Ophelia dress by So Dressmaking, I think I've got that name right, and also the shirt by Tony, the one from the Sewing Bee. Can't remember the exact name of that shirt pattern, but that one was there. And then there was the Aspen dress by Fabric Godmother. So there was a nice range of projects going on, and because I didn't continue with my Tilly and the Buttons Tabitha dress, I decided to help out Lena, who was busy making the hanbok vest by Sewing Therapy, and I basically did 4 meters of bias binding for her. So I used that trick where you cut out a square from one corner to the opposite corner, you cut it, flip it over, sew it together, draw the lines, and then sew those parts together so that you can then cut the bias in a continuous string. And then I pressed all of that. There was about, I think, 8 meters that I made all together, but I only pressed 4 into bias binding because that's all she needed for the vest. So that's basically what I did for the biggest part of the day. Lena didn't finish her vest on the day though, but she has since finished it at home, and it just looks really gorgeous. It is just all completely white and it will just literally go with anything. So I'm kind of excited to actually start working on my hanbok vest as well. So I've got the fabrics here today that I want to show you what I'm thinking about using for the back side. It is a reversible vest, and for the front I did show you this a while ago that I got a wool mix from Leon's, and I really love this, and this is going to be on one side, which I'm probably going to be using this as the main side. On the back side, I was thinking of using something ditzy, and then I originally saw this one, and I kind of finalized on this one. It's not a ditzy print, but it was a plain print. But then I started thinking to myself, I'm going to have to overlap it at the front, and if I don't get these stripes completely matched, I think it's just gonna like bug me the whole time. So I have kind of since left this one behind and gone back to the ditzy prints, so small print, and I think I'm going to use this fabric. This is actually made up into a Sabina skirt, and I think I made this about a year or 2 ago, and I don't actually reach for the skirt as much as I thought it would. I think because it's in a poplin, it is quite stiff, and when I wear tights with it, it sticks to my tights. So it's not something that I reach for often. I don't know if that's the only reason why I don't reach for it. I don't know if it's too long as well, if I don't like the ruffle at the end. It might be a combination of everything why I don't reach for it. So I'm thinking I might cut this one up and use it for the reverse side of the hanbok vest. In between these layers, I actually want to add a bit of wadding because I want my vest to be a little bit poofy and also a slightly bit warmer. So I have some wadding in my stash that I got quite a while ago to make a jacket for my partner, which if you have been following me for quite some time, you know that I started a jacket for my partner, and it's kind of just hanging on the door there for probably 2 years now, because the instructions of the pattern I was using, it is, I think, copy pasted from Russian to English, and it just threw me off. I did most of the jacket, but I got to a part where my brain just couldn't focus and concentrate anymore on the gibberish that was there, so I have just left the jacket. If I put a zip on and just finish the edges, you would be able to wear the jacket, but it has no lining and it's just got the wadding inside. So I don't know if I'm gonna actually go back to that jacket or not, but that's a story for another day. For this vest though, I feel this is a bit too chunky, a bit too thick. So my thought is I'm going to separate these layers, and by separating them, they become quite thin, and I think it will make the jackets less poofy. So after sandwiching that in between the layers, I'm going to quilt it because I love the look of something that's quilted, and I'm going to add black binding, which I think is just going to tie both sides lovely, and it's just going to go. And then I will be able to match it with a lot more clothing in my wardrobe. Those are the plans I have for this week, which is finishing off the Tabitha T-shirt dress and also maybe making a start on my hanbok vest. Other than that, I drafted a new tote bag this week again. So I did show you last week or a couple of weeks ago that I came up with this design, which I want to use for a workshop that I'm organizing. It wasn't my original design. I had thought first about squares and rectangles, but this one just was a bit more exciting, so I thought I would work on it first because you don't often see, or at least I don't often see, bags with triangular shapes on them. This week though, I worked on one with more squares and rectangles. This was the original design I had in my head, and now after having made it up, I don't really like it. Not that I don't like it, I do like it, but it hasn't satisfied my designing urge. So basically, I want to make a new one up. I will still use this as one of the options for the workshop that's coming up, because although I don't like it, someone else may like it. So these two will be options for people to choose between which one they want to make. I will probably make a third design, but I'm not gonna rush or pressure myself into doing it just yet. Two options I think is very good already for people to be able to choose from. And on the day of the workshop, if people want to modify further the design, why not? We can just work together on trying to make it more you. Other than this workshop, I would love to add a few more workshops to my website, and one that I've been thinking about is around the theme of Christmas. Yes, it's early, but Christmas is actually just around the corner and it's gonna creep up on everyone like it does with me every year. So I was thinking of creating a workshop where we could be making things for the home. So things like an advent calendar, Christmas stockings, bunting, maybe table mats, things around that. But I would actually like your input for this one. So if you were to come to a workshop like this, would you be interested in these projects that I've mentioned, or is there something completely different that you would like to work on? So please let me know below, because that is what's going to help me guide and choose the projects for these workshops. Another exciting event that's coming up is the one-day sewing celebration at Janome in November, and that one is now fully booked. I have been thinking though about an outfit to wear. So I think I told you last week that I had planned of making the summer set dress by the Petite Dressmaker, or working on a Rose Cafe bustier dress by Daria. I have since changed my mind a little bit, because I was thinking, really, where am I gonna wear a corset dress again that I'm probably gonna make floor length? Depending on the fabric I choose, but because I want to make it a little bit more flashy, that was my thought. Really, where am I gonna wear it again? So then I thought about the summer set dress. And yes, it's fitted, it's poofy, it's got a midi skirt, but I was thinking, what are the chances of me wearing that day to day, like on the school run, or, you know, just, I don't know, when would be the chances of me wearing that again? So I've now thought about making a two-piece set. So I was thinking about making a skirt, kind of like a poofy skirt, and just like a plain t-shirt to go with it. And what I'm envisioning is completely red. I was thinking about making the Day to Night shirt by Ellie and Mac, and it's a shirt that comes with a low neck and it's just tight fitting. So I was thinking of making that maybe in a ribbed jersey or just a plain cotton jersey. And then for the skirt, I was thinking of making an organza skirt in this fabric, which is like a red Swiss dot organza. I got this off of the swap table at one of my Sew and Bond events, and a dress or a skirt is what's been staying in my mind to make with it. I don't know if I have enough fabric here for the skirt, but it is definitely something that I'm going to think about. Another thing I was thinking about is, do I attach the skirt to the organza and just sew them as one piece, or do I just make the organza as a separate skirt, make another underskirt, and then I could use the organza skirt over any other color that I wanted to use. So maybe if I wore just a black dress, I could wear a black long dress, I could wear this over it, just like to make the outfit look a little bit different. So I don't really know what I want to do. Of course, this is my thought now, but I could maybe change my idea next week again. I don't know, my brain is just constantly a mumbo jumbo going on. So I have maybe, or I'm giving myself maybe another week or so to decide, maybe 2 weeks, to decide on what my final outfit is going to be for the event. I feel like this has been quite an eventful week. I have quite, I think, ambitious plans for this coming week, because I am going to be working 3 days at Lyon, so I'll be out of the house for 3 days, which doesn't leave me much time to finish up my dress and start on my vest. But we'll see how time goes. That's it from me today. Bye for now.